I take the blade switch this way. If I want to run the batteries, which are off the solar, I put it that way. And that's the way I normally have it. Now you just heard the radios turn on. So that radio is hooked up to it. This gauge with this USB. There's two USB chargers there. Both are 5 volts. One of them is 1 amp, the other is 2 amp. There's a lighter plug adapter here. Again, 12 volts. Radio, 12 volts. This radio, 12 volts. That radio, 12 volts. This radio, 12 volts. The meter, 12 volts. 12 volts on the tuner. So everything is 12 volts. And I can run all this at once, so it's not going to interfere. Only because I have the backup. I have the battery reserve. If I hadn't had the battery reserve and I ran that solar panel into an inverter, none of this is going to work because it's just not going to handle it. I'd have to have so many solar panels out there. You know, it would be cheaper for me just to have it all hooked up to 110. Yeah. So, but meanwhile, that's all 12 volt. The laptops will also run 12 volt if I use the mobile adapter. On this side of the bench, everything that's on right now is 12 volt. These lights are 12 volt. Those lights are 12 volt. 12 volt test lead, so if I want to work on a radio. Cigarette lighter plug. 2 5 amp, 5 volt, and these are 2.1 amp both on the chargers. There's a power supply over here. If in fact I need variable power, then I use that. But for most times I just use this over here. Alright, I got my hot and ground with alligator clips on it. So this whole bench is 12 volt. I have 12 volt banana plugs and lighter plug down here just in case I need it. And down here there's a winch control, which is 12 volts because the winch is up there. Why I have the winch is because when I'm working on something heavy, I roll this over. This is on wheels. I roll this over. I can lift it with the winch through the pulley. There's a pulley right here. And I can lift it up and put it on there and work on it. Now at the time, that winch was convenient where it is. However, that winch may be moved now over to there. But meanwhile, that also runs on all that over there. And I'll tell you what goes on with that and why I do it the way I do it. Now also, I don't use it that much out here, but if I'm out here doing something and I need 12 volts, I just screw it together. It's crude, but it works. You have a red and black stud, 12 volts. You have lighter plug, banana plug, and a couple other studs, all 12 volt. But again, the wire feeding this is heavy enough to control it. You don't want to have something drawing 20 amps if you've only got a wire big enough to carry 5 amp. You follow me? I try not to run anything under 12. I like to stay around 8 or 10. But if I only have 12 and I'm only running 10 feet of it or so, I'll sacrifice a little bit. But the fan in here works off of the 12 volts. The light works off of 12 volts. This is just a little mini spray booth I put together. That's all off of 12 volt. So we have 12 volts here if I need it. I may put 12 volts over here. I don't know yet. But the thing is, a lot of things that I dabble in are 12 volts. You can get 12 volt light bulbs. Standard light bulbs. You know, that screw in that are 12 volts. 12 volt, 25 watt. You know, they're for drop lights and things. Alright? So, I don't need 110, you know, unless I want to have something going like a heater or something like that. But if I want a heater, that and an inverter is not going to run a heater. So you're better off just burying a few feet of underground cable put it on a 20 amp breaker and bring 110 into your shop. But still keep your 12 volt because you may need that. Now, why I have the batteries and the way I have them. Well, right now, the way I have them, I'm not happy with. The hookup is okay, it's a little messy. However, I don't want a mixed match of batteries. When they're being charged, I have a group 27 here. This is a 24. That's a 31, group 31 deep cycle. I want all my batteries to be the same because when the smallest battery is fully charged, the regulator will shut the charger off, which means this will never see its potential. So you want them all the same. It's like a chain. It's only as strong as the weakest link. You follow? The batteries are only as good as the worst battery or the smallest battery. So you want all your batteries the same. When I had them out there, I had 12 group 31s, but that's a whole other story. But I am going to change these out because this has been running for 8 years. Not all this back here, but this used to control that side. And these batteries are close to 8 years old, so it's time to change. So I'm going to put in all group 31s. Now, you see these big 8, oh, and let me change something here. I know I'm jumping around, I'm sorry. This is a 2 amp, 6 amp, 12 volt, 6 volt. I don't care about the 6 volt. I keep it on 12 volt, I keep it on 2 amp. It's a manual charger, it's not automatic. Automatic is if it kicks on, the batteries are charged, it shuts off. It's not going to kick on again. And if you put it on a timer, it's not going to kick on again. So you want a manual charger on a timer. This one kicks on twice a day. Well, at night actually. I think, again, I don't remember. I think it's 9 and 3, or I forgot. But it's at night when the sun is down and nobody's out here. Kicks on for 15 minutes each time. So 15 minutes twice a day. It's been doing it now for, like I say, 8 years. I keep it on 2 amp, which is trickle charge, 12 volt. So if I have a week of no sun and tons of snow, that's going to help keep it up. Because the charger will still, the solar panel will still charge a little bit. As long as it's seeing light, it doesn't necessarily have to be sun. Bright clouds. I mean, it'll always give you something. So I've been doing it that way, like I said, for 8 years. And since I did the add-on, it's been like another 3 years out here with all these radios and all doing the same thing. And I haven't had a problem yet. So by my experience, what I've got going works fine. Now, why do I use group 31s? Well, I don't care about cold crank. I want reserve or amp hours. They're both the same. The higher the reserve, the higher the amp hours, the better the battery is for solar. So, you know those big D8 truck batteries? Well, if you look at the label, they've got tons of crank. But the reserve is no bigger or greater than a group 31. And for the price that you're going to pay for that 8D, you could buy 3 31s and they'll fit in the same place as the big 8D. Where you gain, however, is the group 31 will say has 200 amp hours or reserve. Well, if I put 3 of them, I got 600. That 8D is only going to give me 200 because it's made for crank. All right, crank. That's what it's made for. The crank to start up those big diesels, stuff like that. So they box them up and get 24 volt start out of them. But I don't care about cold crank. Like I said, I want reserve. All right, amp hours. So that's what you want to look at. Group 31s, I found, are the best for the money. And they work well, and they're deep cycle, so they'll take charge after charge after charge after charge, and I haven't had a problem with them. Like I say, I've got close to 8 years on those batteries. you know.